The Deadpool movie goes all out with its Easter eggs. Ryan Reynolds went as far to say that there's over 100 references in total, which is great, but it also means that making this video has been an unprecedented nightmare. But hey, let's get into it. 100 Easter eggs, references, cameos, nods, whatever else that is in the Deadpool movie that encompasses the X-Men universe, the Avengers, Spider-Man, creator cameos, and a stack of other stuff. The movie begins with a very self-aware opening credits, mimicking the beginning of a lot of superhero movies including Spider-Man, or even the end credits of the Avengers, but it never refers to anybody by name. For example, Ryan Reynolds is God's perfect idiot, and the director is some overpaid tool. The highway sequence that it takes place on is actually a recreation of leaked test footage from a bit under 2 years ago that got the ball rolling on this project due to the fan reaction. On the highway, we get street signs that nod to Deadpool creatives, including comic book writer Fabian Nicieza, director Tim Miller, and the last names of special effects coordinators, O'Rourke, Shaham, and Silver. Later we see Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld in a bar, who Wade Wilson refers to directly, and Marvel legend Stan Lee appears as a strip club announcer. This may also be a reference to the Stripperella series that he created in 2004. Ryan Reynolds is obviously no stranger to the superhero genre, and this movie isn't shy about making fun of his less than stellar efforts, including Green Lantern. We see what looks like a Green Lantern trading card in the opening sequence, plus Wade Wilson requests at one point that his supersuit not be green or animated. Deadpool's last live-action appearance in Wolverine Origins doesn't get a pass either, as he requests that he doesn't have his mouth sewn shut, like he did in that movie, and we also see that Deadpool action figure, and he even has one of the exact same lines, about how he gets to travel to far-off exotic places, meet new and exciting people, and kill them. Most of the characters we see are ripped directly from the comics, including Weasel, Blind Owl, Ajax, Angel Dust, Vanessa, or Copycat, whose powers of mimicking is hinted at, where she says that she's played many roles. Lots of X-Men stuff is also in this film. After all, it is set in the same universe. Explicitly, though, we get the two characters of Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who wears an actual colourful X-Men costume, which is something Bryan Singer seems reluctant to do. Deadpool mentions at one point McAvoy or Stewart, referencing both actors who have played the role of Professor X. We see the X-Mansion, which is hinted at being destroyed regularly, like it does in the comics, and what may also happen in X-Men Apocalypse. It's nice to see the Blackbird, a direct call out to Beast, and how Deadpool wants him to stop shitting on his lawn, how the reason we only see 2 X-Men is because of budgetary restraints, and the song X Gon Give It To Ya plays when Deadpool teams up with the X-Men to defeat Ajax. Spider-Man, despite being owned by another studio, is mentioned quite a bit. A variation on the line Go Get Him Tiger is used twice, and we get the phrase with great power comes great irresponsibility, a twist on the words Spider-Man lives by. We also see a sign for Parker Boulevard, a nod to Peter Parker, and Deadpool says that he looks like he's been bitten by a radioactive Shar-Pei, in the same way that Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider. It's also a nod to a famous Deadpool comic book panel where he says he looks like a cross between Ryan Reynolds and a Shar-Pei. The actor himself, Ryan Reynolds, is referenced a few times. We see a magazine depicting him and how he was named Sexiest Man Alive. Plus, Deadpool even mentions that Ryan Reynolds has always got by on his looks and not his acting ability. We get some cameos from other comic book characters. There's a girl in the same program as Wade Wilson who looks a lot like Marrow. His mate Cunningham is a guy who becomes Worm, and Hydra Bob appears towards the end, a friend of Deadpool whose heart is not really in the henchman game. Hugh Jackman is referred to multiple times. We see his Sexiest Man Alive cover. Deadpool says that he had to perform a certain sexual act on the character of Wolverine to get his own movie, and he's also wearing a Hugh Jackman mask under his regular mask at the end. There's also a ton of Deadpool comic and character references. The bar he hangs out in is Sister Margaret's home for wayward girls, though it's more formally known as Hell House in the comics. The location even has the dead pool of freelance mercenaries on the wall, which gives birth to his name. Now in the comics, the Deadpool is actually in the Weapon X facility, where he gets his powers. And here we do see a variation on that program, but it's never specifically mentioned as that. His love for Hello Kitty is also seen in the Hello Kitty lip balm. That's actually the only account Deadpool follows on his Twitter. His love for chimichangas is also shown. A reworking of the Deadpool rap from his latest game is heard. He breaks the fourth wall multiple times like he does in the comics. Let's say conservatively 10, which just quietly should help me get us over 100. And we even get a fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break, which is amazing. The pizza delivery scene towards the start is ripped straight from the comics. He even orders the same thing Pineapple with Olives. Wade Wilson is seen reading a Mario Lopez memoir, which is a nod to the now famous reveal of Deadpool's R rating, where he hits Mario Lopez with a stage light. At least 3 Deadpool toys are seen around Blind Al's home, though this one looks a lot like Spider-Man. And we get advent calendars, a reference to Deadpool's love for Christmas. And a whole lot of other movie or pop culture nods are either subtly or explicitly hinted at. The Batman scene transition noise is heard when Deadpool's head hits the car radio, and he also says that Al is the Robin to his Batman. Vanessa makes a pretty sweet Empire Strikes Back reference. Weasel says that he hopes Ajax's team enjoys their midnight screening of Blade 2. Ryan Reynolds actually makes an appearance in that franchise in Blade Trinity. We see a superhero landing, a popular superhero movie trope. The words famous Feige on a pizza box, a nod to a man who's had a role in a lot of Marvel movies and current Marvel studio head Kevin Feige. We see a Walkman, perhaps a nod to Deadpool's 90s origin, but he's also listening to Salt and Pepper, which is a group from the 90s. The actual song he's listening to, Shoot, came out in 1993, the same year as Deadpool's first solo series. The final battle takes place on what looks suspiciously like a Marvel helicarrier, a staple of the MCU. Though they couldn't reference it directly, it could be one of the ones that crashed in the Winter Soldier. The Liam Neeson Taken films are mentioned, Deadpool wears an Adventure Time watch, and Wade Wilson wins a Voltron ring. When he finds out he's dying, he says that in the next life, he's going to appear outside Vanessa's window with a boombox, a nod to Say Anything. He makes true on that promise at the end by playing Wham out of his iPhone to her. Professor X is referenced in relation to Heaven's Gate. He does bear a resemblance to their leader. Plus, one of the major beliefs of that cult was that the world would be wiped clean and rejuvenated, which is kind of the main goal of a lot of X-Men villains, in particular Apocalypse, who we'll be seeing soon. The movie 127 Hours is honored when Deadpool saws off his own hand to escape having to visit the X-Mansion, as is Monty Python. Twice. His fight with Colossus is very reminiscent of King Arthur versus the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Victory is mine. We thank thee, Lord, that in thy mercy...
And the Four Yorkshiresmen sketch is very similar to Wade Wilson and Vanessa trying to outdo each other in the miserable upbringing stakes. When trying to guess Ajax's name, Wade Wilson goes with Bruce and Scott, possible nods to Bruce Banner and Scott Summers, and he considers adopting the names Scaredevil and Captain Deadpool, nods to both Daredevil and Captain America. There's an Alien 3 reference in relation to the look of Negasonic, and there's a few hints towards Deadpool's home of Canada. For one, the movie is shot in Vancouver, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, and he even sings the first line of the Canadian national anthem when hitting Colossus. Finally, we get a post-credits sequence that recreates the ending of Ferris Bueller, and even mentions the what were we expecting Samuel L. Jackson in an eye patch, like we got at the end of Iron Man. Cable is also said to appear in the next film, who's had many adventures with Deadpool. They've also been in the X-Force together, and is the son of both Scott Summers and Jean Grey. So there it is. I did it. 100 Easter eggs or references. Ended up being over 100 in the end. Good on me. That was very unpleasant to put together. Thanks, Ryan Reynolds, you bastard. But I'd love to know any of the ones that I've definitely missed, because I'm sure there's a stack. So if you know any that I haven't mentioned, please feel free to leave that below. Also, if you feel like it, why not subscribe if you want to check out some other videos that you might like, or even take a look at my movie, comic, TV podcast, The Weekly Planet. All that's linked there and below. You know, you get the idea. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.